Hi, I'm Barbara Humpton, CEO of Siemens USA. And thank you to Tony and the group for the chance to share some thoughts as you begin this discussion about the future of cities and regenerative placemaking. At Siemens, the future of cities is actually part of our company strategy. We see it as our mission to create technology with purpose. And that means addressing global megatrends, the inexorable forces we're facing, like urbanization. We know 3 decades from now that 3/4 of the world's population will live in cities. So we're taking the 2050 view. We're focusing on how we can make industry and infrastructure, the sectors that form the backbone of our national economy, more sustainable, resilient, and equitable. Instead of trying to make yesterday last, we're focused on building tomorrow. Today's panel discussion about cities with purpose speaks to this mission and the opportunities we have to increase quality of life for everyone. As a bipartisan infrastructure agreement moves forward in the US Congress, we're approaching a moment when we could make generational investments in American infrastructure. It's our chance to shape the future we want, to reinvent legacy infrastructure for the future, to take a new look at systems built decades ago that divided more than connected, and to build for the next century of American growth and leadership. I'll share that not long after the pandemic began, Siemens USA worked with the US Conference of Mayors to get a better sense of how they're confronting the health, economic, and societal crises we've been experiencing. We asked mayors across the country essentially this question: what will it take to move your city forward? And we learned a couple of things. First, nearly all mayors said that investment in technology was necessary for the future of their city. Second, the mayors unanimously agreed that technology companies have a role to play in helping to build that future. What this tells us at Siemens is that we have a special responsibility. Think about it. If we can activate public-private ecosystems, if we can spark cross-sector partnerships, we can drive transformation so much faster than we ever could alone. I'll share just a few examples of our purpose-driven work at Siemens. It includes our work in Bronzeville, a historically Black community in Chicago, where our microgrid technologies are being used to not only provide reliable power, but to advance a net zero carbon future and to help revitalize the neighborhood. We're working to electrify car and bus fleets across the country, recognizing the opportunity we have to lower global carbon emissions through the electrification of transportation. But we know that electric vehicles can only grow as fast as the charging infrastructure enables it to. Just recently, we announced that we'll be growing our footprint of manufacturing for EV chargers in the United States. And we continue to advocate for open standards so we can scale up access and availability quickly. The transition to electric vehicles improves air quality for everyone, everywhere. Another big contributor to global carbon emissions, of course, are buildings. So we're working to reduce energy consumption and cost of those technologies like AI and machine learning. They can make our spaces more intelligent, and they can also make them healthier and safer. You'll find our smart building technologies in the National Center for Civil and Human Rights in Atlanta, Georgia. Using thermal imaging and air purification, we've helped keep the center open throughout the pandemic. These are the types of partnerships that move our communities forward. You'll often hear me call myself an optimist. And in fact, I have a whole podcast called The Optimistic Outlook, which I encourage you to check out. And so I'll mention a rare positive side to the crises we've been facing. It's that our cities actually saw improvements to air quality and a reduction in carbon emissions. We don't have to lose those sustainability gains as our economy reopens and transportation ramps back up. No, we can accelerate progress. The technology that can guide us to a zero carbon society is in the marketplace and ready to be deployed. We're working to do our part at Siemens. We were the first major industrial company to make a carbon neutral pledge by 2030. We did that back in 2015, and we're already more than halfway there. We've since added to our commitment and are now aiming for a carbon neutral supply chain by 2050. In that survey of mayors I mentioned, we learned that we're not alone in making sustainability a priority. More than 2/3 of mayors said achieving their city's carbon emission goals is a medium or a high priority. So I'll conclude with this final thought. Let's get to work. Let's spark a transformation of our city infrastructure in ways that accelerate climate action and advance people's well-being at the same time. Let's use the powerful digital tools now available to us to become more resilient. And let's build a future that's grounded in purpose and that serves all of us.
The CEO of Siemens USA. And when we have companies like Siemens making that important statements, I think we are going all in the right direction. I have the honor to host this panel of Cities on Purpose. My name is Sam Katila. Unfortunately, I can't be with you in the wonderful city, New York City. I've been here now broadcasted to you from amazing Dubai. One of the youngest cities maybe in the world, have started just 20 years ago and being known around the world. And but next time, for sure, I will come back to New York. The panel that we have here, the special panel related to the topic we are talking about, an intelligent panel and a panel which already have proven track records of what they have done in the past and actually with the right vision what is coming for the future. So I have the honor to present you this panel now, and as well the vision, the mindset, and the intelligence behind these personalities being able to mark the way, have done it already with passion, dedication, and have given actually all the heartbeat in the past without raising their own flag, but making their statement through their project initiatives speak for themselves. Let me start with the lady in our round, Ms. Anousheh, I hope I spell it right, Ms. Anousheh Ansari, CEO of XPRIZE. Then we have the CEO of Habitat of Humanity International, Mr. Jonathan Rackford. And as well, a very special guest, and thank you for making the time, knowing how busy you are, His Majesty King Dane Kia Borek Kotsi, I hope I spell it right, and he is the king of the wonderful Delta state in Nigeria. And last but not least, we have Mr. Tony Chu, CEO and founder of Future Cities. Well, let me start, please, with Mr. Tony. Tony, you are the CEO and founder of Future Cities, and you set for yourself a huge goal to create equitable and sustainable, inclusive, regenerative cities of the future. And you combine technologies, innovations, and as well facing the biggest challenges which are now happening to develop these megacities of the future. A question to you: what does creating future cities or sustainable cities mean for you?
At the 4th Annual Leaders on Purpose Summit during UNGA here in the beautiful city of New York, here at the Global Goals House. Thank you to Leaders on Purpose for the work that you're doing in bringing conscious-driven leaders together to solve the world's greatest problems. At the Future of Cities, we aim to impact the lives of 1 billion people through innovations in the built environment. And how do we do that? It's a huge, lofty goal. Well, we're co-designing and open sourcing a new regenerative development framework called regenerative placemaking. What is regenerative placemaking? Regenerative placemaking is building on decades of works by people like Buckminster Fuller and Regenesis on sustainable and regenerative development, which combines inclusive and equitable regenerative practices and principles and combines it with forward-thinking practices and demonstration projects from around the world and from our own projects so that we can accelerate this transition to a regenerative, equitable, and inclusive future. We know that the built environment is going to double in size over the next 30 years. We know that there could be 1 billion climate change refugees. And we know that there's this mass migration to cities from 50% to 70%. So how do we deal with this massive migration? These are things that we're not even prepared to deal with. And so if we don't start at the social innovation level, if we don't start with cross-sector collaboration and public-private partnership, at unprecedented scale, we're going to be knocked on our bottoms. And we really need to start thinking about this in advance. And so at the Future of Cities, we've devised a three-pronged platform. One is a think tank that's open sourcing regenerative placemaking, and we're co-designing it with all of you, with all of our strategic partners, and we're giving it away. We're sharing the data from what we're doing, from our successes, from our failures, from the projects that we're doing, and it's informing our investment decisions in the real estate compartment of what we're doing, as well as in the venture side. So we have a venture side that's investing in prop tech, smart city technology, social innovation, that's investing in small to independent minority and women-owned businesses, up to evolutionary technology that's helping disrupt the construction industry, prop tech, smart city technology, climate tech, and all of those things that we need to build the cities of the future. And then we have a real estate platform, which is basically focused on ESG outcomes in the real estate space, where we can do demonstration projects where we can show people this can be done. You can do ESG real estate and you can deliver outsized returns. And so we're aiming, but only with cross-sector collaboration. And so we're aiming to show and demonstrate to our peers in this community and in this industry that it can be done. It has to be done. We don't have any other choice to do it. But we can't do it alone, and we don't have all the solutions. So we really need to work with incredible strategic partners like yourselves and you out there to make it happen. So I don't want to take up too much time, but thank you for having me. It's an honor and a privilege.
Thank you so much, Tony. But I have another question to you, please. So what is the current trend in the city development? And are these trends actually meeting the real future needs? Because I see a lot of city developments currently solving problems of now, but actually I don't see the issues we have to face tomorrow. So are these trends of today solving the problems of the needs of tomorrow? If you can give me there in one or two sentences a quick answer.
Repeat the question.
Oh, well, you didn't hear me? Okay, I will do it in short again. Okay, let me hear it again. So the current trends of city developments, and I will see it around the world, what's happening. Are these trends meeting actually the real future needs, or is there a gap? Because this is something where current situations are asking for current needs, but are these needs actually solving problems of the future?
No, they're not solving the problems of the future. The built environment accounts for 50% of CO2 emissions in the world. There's no general standards locally, federally on a national level. And until we fix that issue in terms of CO2 emissions in the built environment and we disrupt that, corporations are making the pledge for net zero by 2040, 2050. The city space is way behind, and the construction industry really needs to be disrupted because the material science spaces are not keeping up with the demands and the needs of the development that's happening in the world. And that's only a piece of the story. We talk about smart cities. I talk about wise cities. How are we going to build cities that are for people and not for robots and for buildings? And that's really what we're looking to really focus on. And if you start with that inquiry, I think we can solve a lot of the issues that we're focusing on. So we really need to make sure that we're aligned not only in building cities that are technologically advanced, but we need to have inclusive, equitable cities where we're taking care of the 99% and not just the 1%. So all of these green building, projects, all these massive multi-billion-dollar developments, they're not solving problems for the 99% and the underserved communities. And so at the Future of Cities, while we believe in new cities, we also believe that there's hundreds of millions of square feet of failing infrastructure and communities that need to be reimagined and reinvented, and co-design and empowering those communities by uplifting them, by giving them capacity, giving them resources and tools, and showing them what's happening in other places, and let them adopt and let them adapt to what's happening and co-design their best outcomes.
Thank you, Tony. Jonathan, you are the chief of your organization since 2005, and you have achieved tremendous, amazing numbers. You have helped over 35 million people to construct and preserve their homes. Nearly 1,100 local habitat organizations in 50 states and in more than 70 countries have grown from serving 125,000 individuals each year, helping nearly 6 million people. Last year built strength, stability, and self-reliance through shelter. Well, future cities don't mean only glamorous city development like New York, London, Dubai, name them. It means as well growing communities which need tremendous support to build affordable homes. So your organization is facing, eyeing, and actually focusing on these issues. My question for you would be, what is your forecast in how this demand will grow in the next 10 to 20 years?
Thank you so much, Sam. It's wonderful to be with all of you today. I think, unfortunately, it's a pretty pessimistic forecast. So pre-COVID, UN estimates there are about 1.6 billion people, or a quarter of the world, living in substandard or poverty housing. And what we've seen with COVID, it's actually exacerbated the problem. In high-income contexts, we've seen price acceleration far faster than income. And in low and moderate income contexts around the world, we've seen incomes drop and supply chain challenges raise costs. So we've actually seen a worsening, and the projections aren't without significant intervention. We'll see 2 billion people in substandard poverty housing. And along with climate change, the other massive demographic reality in our world is rapid urbanization. And you really can't change that. So then the question is, how do we create the supply of housing for the need?
Thank you. But let me ask another question related to that. How can you/we manage this growing, I don't want to say dangerous, but a bit of frightening demand? What is the solution? What can we do as a community? What can we do as actually the private sector, the industries, mega brands, governments? But what is it what we have to look at?
I think the only way to solve really complex problems is with a multi-sector approach. It's going to take the public sector, private sector, and civil society working together to solve housing. I think it starts with a belief that housing is actually a core right, that housing is a human right. Second is a practical view that if we want to solve health challenges, we have to deal with housing. If we want to deal with racial inequity and justice, we have to deal with housing. And in fact, if we want to deal with economic development, we need to deal with housing. We recently released a cornerstone report from 15, done with Wharton in 15 countries, that actually showed housing was deeply underestimated as an economic driver of both jobs and economic development. So it's an actual chance to build economies while solving this problem, and it's a huge job creator. But it really is an understanding that safe, decent, adequate housing is such a fundamental building block or foundation for all the other things we want for our families and every family.
I have seen personally the Aga Khan project in the Himalaya, where they build the housings for these people living in a very, very, let's say, sensitive environment, and they went sustainable to be in balance with the nature over there. As well, the Grameen Bank initiative in Bangladesh. I've been there in the jungle, seen their projects, and they try as well to include as well the protection of the environment while they extend as well the housing problems they have. So what is the initiative of Habitat for Humanity have set be as well sustainable with the projects you actually manage or work on?
Well, in a high-income context, we really believe in mixed income, mixed use development, because one of the ways we can really help the environment is build sustainable materials, but actually put people in an environment where they're close to work and close to education and have the economic opportunities that draw people to cities. I'll give you 3 very quick examples from middle and low income contexts where they don't have to be mutually exclusive. So first, in Sri Lanka, we have just completed a huge project with the EU for families displaced by the long civil war. And there we're building thousands of houses. We built thousands of houses with soil stabilized eco blocks that use a fraction of the cement of concrete blocks or burnt bricks. And they're locally sourced. The communities can actually create them, and they're durable, attractive, and in fact perform beautifully. Second example, with a partnership with the Hilti Foundation in Philippines and Nepal, we're building thousands of bamboo homes with specially grown, treated, and designed bamboo that's highly renewable, low cost, and sustainable. And third, different context in Eastern Europe with seed funding from the US government. In several countries, we're rehabbing Soviet-era apartment blocks that were wildly energy inefficient, and we're financing the upgrades through the energy savings. So we're actually taking a problem, solving it, and creating a long-term sustainability for those families by reducing the energy needs and saving them money, but also saving the environment. So I do think there's solutions out there we could scale.
Thank you, Jonathan. That's really ambitious. Thank you so much. Your Majesty, You are the king of the Akbar or the Akbar kingdom in the Delta state in Nigeria and the world's youngest king. You are ruling a very traditional state where you have introduced myriad reforms to drive the kingdom safe and sound into the next millennium. Your mission is to bridge cultural traditions with modern understanding and to establish a future oriented society without losing their roots. Means you see the strong human factor within the future developments of your state, your country, and Africa. My first question would be to you: is the Nigerian Smart Cities Initiative the right solution to balance between the human factor and as well the innovation, technology, and sustainability?
Sam, thank you very much for bringing me on this program. And I would like to very much welcome everybody that's here to put this together, how to really take the world to the next smart cities. I would have to answer yes to that. I particularly think that whether anybody likes it or not, Africa has to catch up with the rest of the world. And this would seem an opportunity to do so. To be able to create smart cities in Africa would be something that would be vastly beneficial to, I think, the entire world, considering how many of the natural resources all parts come from Africa. I think it would be very important to have Africa catch up and be part of the new age that we're now currently going into. So smart cities would seem to me to be the next possible thing to do for Africa to try and meet up. But of course, there are a number of challenges there, especially with electricity.
How will Africa deal with the booming urbanization process? What is it what you would maybe do, Your Majesty, and what is Africa actually really doing?
Can you hear
Should I
me?
repeat, should I repeat the question again? Did you hear me, Your Majesty?
I did not. You just cut out there, so please
Oh, I will do it
if
again.
you don't mind.
So no problem for sure, Your Majesty. How will Africa deal with the booming urbanization process? What is Africa in general doing, and what would you like to do, or what would you like to see to be done?
Well, as I'm sitting here now listening to so many great minds, and in particular quite young minds, I think that Africa needs to continue to channel its youth. We have a huge Africa now, larger than most continents, and I think that that is what is really going to propel us forward. I remember when, particularly the head of Google actually did Nigeria. I mean, the uproar, the excitement that was there when he visited. The Nigerian youth, the African youths, they're ready for the next generation and for the next century. They're really ready to see and born. But of course, we need the cooperation of the West to come in, partner with us to show us what can be done and to also share some of the technologies that we so readily and easily are able to access in the West, which sadly for now are not so accessible in Africa and some parts of Nigeria. Certainly, I look to a country like Rwanda with the President Kagame. I especially like what he's been able to do, especially with the move towards inclusion of women, which seems moving the society forward in a very, very positive way. So I think that women in particular are very, very to the next movement forward for the African nation. And whatever we can do to encourage the young girl child to come up and to help with the next generation and how we can move Africa forward, I think that will be big solution where urbanization is to be concerned. The move towards urbanization is quite massive because in the rural areas there is not much um, that's going on. There's not too much opportunity. So certainly developing new forms of energy is for Africa.
A quick, one last question, if you allow me, Your Majesty, to ask you for a quick answer. But what is the process? This young generation you have mentioned, everybody's talking about the big boom to come in Africa. Africa is a future of minerals, resources, development. But what is the young generation, which process they have to go through to adapt to the challenges they are facing in Africa and Nigeria?
Well, this just seems to be it. I would contend that this type of forum and the like will be what the young Africans need to be able to ingratiate themselves with. Be able- I mean, this forum myself, and I would like to keep in contact with a number of people that I've come across on this forum today, because this is exactly what I think Africa needs, especially generation. So these processes, they need to be streamlined. They need to be created now. The older generation are trying their best, but are still very disconnected with so many things in the technological age. The younger generation are extremely hungry, but these processes for now need to be developed. But what I'm eager to see is the opportunities given to them. Having grown up in the West myself, these opportunities were quite an everyday. Uh, Here in Africa, these processes for now need to be built, Sam.
Thank you, Your Majesty. That was very insightful. Thank you so much. Now we go to our lovely lady, Anushe. Anushe, you have an impressive CV. A part that you have been, I think, the second lady in the private traveling to the space, and maybe the number fourth as a private traveler to the space. I don't remember. That was something I've read, and I was very, very excited about it. And to talk about now about your organization. Your organization, where you are the CEO of X Prize Foundation, actually, a global leader in solving the world's grand challenges by creating and managing large-scale incentivized prize competition that create impact in 5 areas: learning, exploration, energy, and environment, global development, and life sciences. And your mission is to bring about radical breakthroughs for the benefit of humanity. So you and your family, you have sponsored millions of dollars to create prize money and competitions to actually support and encourage organizations in the right direction. So let me ask you the first question. When you were up in space, what did come up into your mind? What we on Earth still need to understand and learn?
Thank you, and it's great to be here for the first time, part of Leaders on Purpose. So I had this opportunity, unique opportunity, to be able to see our planet, our true home from space, the home that we all share across the globe. And one thing that is very apparent is the impact of human beings on this planet, and you can see this visibly from space. But the other side of this, you also can really see our interconnectedness, not only with each other, but also with our home planet. And, we go to school, see these geography maps that shows these lines that divides us, and we start believing that they're actually lines dividing countries, and we can sort of just deal with our own problem and not look at our world holistically. And from space, you really understand that we need to look at holistic problems, global problems, and we can say, the problem of Africa is Africa's problem, and the problem of US is US's problem. We have a global warming problem that we need to collaborate together to solve. We need innovation. I wholeheartedly believe in the power of young people because they're not constrained and weighed down by traditional thinking. And we need radical innovation in order to be able to achieve what we want. And this is what we do at X Prize. We use the tool of competition actually to bring about really audacious, radical innovation and focus that energy to solving massive challenges around the globe through disincentivized competition and democratize innovation across the globe.
What was your motivation to start X Prize? What was the key trigger that inside you that what we have to do, we have to do something different? What triggered you? What was the motivation behind it?
Sure. Well, I'm an engineer and entrepreneur, so I love problem solving. I love puzzles. So I believe in innovation and solving problems. But the founder of this organization is Peter Diamandis, who started it because he read a book about a competition that started the whole aviation industry, and that was the Ortiq Prize. And Charles Lindbergh flew New York to Paris to win this competition. And Peter and I shared this passion for space and wanted to commercialize and open space opportunities for the entire humanity. And this is how it started, and my family and I became sponsors of the first competition. And it took 10 years for the competition to be won. But this year we saw a massive change in our society because of that competition that started in 1996. And it shows that this type of things can really change the course of development for humanity. And we saw so many commercial activities this year, especially. We wanted to do the same thing in other parts of society, so we started competitions for healthy oceans. We looked at competitions, and our largest that's active right now is a $100 million competition to scale CO2 extraction from the atmosphere or the oceans at gigaton levels, because the reports now show that we need to take about 50 gigaton out of the atmosphere by 2050. And that's just an annual number. And the technologies we have today will not get us there. So we use the tool of competition to really bring innovation, to push innovation in that direction. We are looking at building, through these technologies, sustainable cities, healthy cities. And a lot of the topics that Tony talked about are actually part of these competitions that we are trying to create through collaboration and look for partners to do that.
This is very impressive. Now you gave prize money, people won. Did you measure the real impact out of what you have started? Is there any example of the impact you have made with that?
Oh, absolutely. I think there are several ways that we can measure impact. Our competitions are very precise, and we don't give the money away for the idea. We only give the money when the teams who compete actually build and demonstrate the solutions successfully. We have very strict criteria on what they need to achieve, but we don't talk about how they need to achieve it. So we allow for maximum creativity there. And we have seen, for example, as I mentioned, the first competition, which has been there the longest, 25 years now, we've said that it has completely changed, transformed the landscape. There is a lot more investment going on, but on average, each competition brings about 10 to 30 times of the prize purse in terms of investment in an area that prior to the competition, there was almost zero investment or attention in. So that investment by itself really makes a huge difference in the type of innovation you see. The competition reduces the risk for the investors, so they are more keen on investing. And because of the rigorous testing that we do, we become sort of a de facto due diligence, arm for the investment community to see what teams, what technologies can really achieve those goals. And then we help the teams actually go to market and implement those solutions. A lot of what we focus on are long-term things, but we've seen circular carbon network was generated because of our previous competitions around taking CO2 and building products from it. Two winners were both in the green concrete industry, and they received immense amount of attention and investment because of it. And we know concrete is the 7th largest contributor to CO2 emissions. So just by changing that game and allowing them to go to market, we've started seeing a big change.
Thank you very much, Anushi. That was, I have to say, this panel could go on now for the next 2-3 hours. Unfortunately, we don't have the time anymore. And but I can promise the audience outside there, this amazing panel will continue the conversation when the camera is off. I think we have presented here excellent personalities. They do what they have to do. If you look at them or you don't look at them, because they're driven by passion, they're driven by the commitment, and they're driven by their own promise they have given themselves. People which have actually represented the needs and actually presented the outcome if we do the right thing altogether. I think that panel has actually the opportunity to make a change, but we only can do it if everybody participates, supports, and actually be kind of part of it. We will invite you. Everybody will be down later. Somehow, I think we have an internet platform. Yeah, can ask questions or something. I was told there's an internet platform. Yeah, okay. So we try to answer that. But we will continue the conversation. We wish you a wonderful day. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for the panel, and thank you for making the time. And I wish you all a wonderful day.